All right, hello everyone. Jesse's back. We're going to talk a little bit more about vibe coding Torchlight Infinite tools. What you see on screen here is Trade House Helper. It's something I just spun up recently. This is supposed to be at least the starting point for a cache analysis of the auction house cache. The TLI Hero Rank project that we have been working on is in a pretty stable place right now. I fixed more bugs yesterday and the day before. So before we pivot and update the stats page here, my next goal that I at least I'm testing, and I just want to experiment with this, is the possibility of building a tool that lets you import and export the auction house save history. So for example, right now, if I upload the cache for my current version, you can see that in some cases it's very accurate. Like apparently I have looked up memory scrap, memory thread, flawless lunar dust, and I've been playing Moonstrike, which is a meme build. I'll show you my off-meta build at some point. And then I looked up some inverse images. I'm trying to get a better inverse image. Anyways, it doesn't matter. The point is that this is not live data. This isn't reading memory. This isn't scanning a Windows process. This is from the cache. And so the only advantage that you could get from extracting this data, assuming that I clean it up, you can see that there are some empty slots here. You can theoretically save this file and either reload an old log of saves, of past saves, beyond what the game itself saves. Or alternatively, you can actually share this with somebody else. Let's say somebody else is really interested in a build, and they can go on pro builds and scroll and click and find it, and then they can have it available in the UI. Or they can simply dump the search history into their own search history and overwrite their existing search history, of course, with a new cache file. And they would have all of the items that they want to search are already in their history. Now, where it gets really complicated is the advanced search history, because I'm telling you, is not even remotely in the realm of getting parsed yet. The problem is that you may notice that I have a Craft of Exile tab up here. There are just a lot of affixes. And if I'm comparing this tool to a tool like Craft of Exile, where you can craft an item, right, that you would ultimately put into your advanced search history, and it would be searchable in the in-game UI, assuming that you go through the process of selecting every single affix that you want and all of the search criteria that makes sense for you, and then you dump it into a search. The problem is that the affix data for each item and each item type and each base type, it's pretty vast. I mean, there are a lot of items in this game, and there are a lot of different types of items in this game, and they don't really delete old items. I've been looking at these raw files trying to get and extract some kind of parsed version of item bases, and legendary items they just never delete any old ones. And so it is just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds multiplied by all of those item affixes that would all be applicable to all of the various groups that you could search. The thing is, when I looked up Craft of Exile and did analysis, the problem is that they have a much more formal and robust API type service that extracts the JSON files from the game. I have a working version of that specifically for the English localization, which is kind of the only way you can get this source information. But actually, making that known across all of the rest of the game files, like the items, and their individual affixes for like a random base item, it's going to end up being a lot of data. And it's going to end up being, this is an example search from Craft of Exile. I don't even know. I think this is a pair of boots we're looking up, or a two-handed sword or whatever. But, this shows you all the individual affixes here. Well, assuming I can click a valid mod here. But, there are multiple tiers of each affix. And so you can imagine when this dev was importing all of this data, you sort of have to, first of all, make the UI, make sense. And you also need to account for all the exclusions that apply to each item. There's so many layers of complexity. And my big concern is that my current payload from a static site to just a hosted, it's not realistic for me to do any of this unless I have some sort of databasing layer where I can run queries, especially if I want to do this for the stats page and have richer queries and more trend visualization, things of that nature. So ultimately what I'm saying is that this type of database, which it's not even a database, it's just raw JSON files that are getting formatted in a way that I can read. It's not a realistic way to build out a more robust tool set for a site like this. I mean, I obviously must enjoy this game if I'm investing this much time into it. And the truth is that I enjoy the game, but I'm also enjoying the process of learning, building out my character as well as building out my knowledge of how the game works and how the bits and pieces and moving parts work, because this has already been solved for Path of Exile. That's the reality. Is I'm not going to be able to build a tool like this, a vibe coded tool like this. This tool has existed for years, and I have no way to, I could build a competitor to this kind of tool, but Path of Exile 1, as I said, it feels like it's a solved game. And from an English-speaking content creator who wants to build a tool and learn programming and vibe coding and how this stuff works, it makes way more sense for me to go down the rabbit hole of this weird niche game that I have enjoyed and I have played. It's better to do that because even if this does fall a bit flat long-term, which I don't think it will. I think that this game has legs, personally. I think that it'll continue, and I hope that it grows, and I hope that they find a way to satiate the Western audiences a bit more. But having said all that, I am going to try to build a trade house helper. This is evidence of, you can see in these condition groups that I still have so much to add to actually parse all these files. Even before we figure out a database structure, I actually don't know what all of these individual modifiers are and all the fields. And I can't even imagine once we get to the point where we're trying to map all the fields to all the base types that they apply to. It's like a series of exclusions and layers of, that's got to be such a tangled mess. And it's going to require a lot of testing. So hopefully I have enough interest in a service like this so that I have people who are willing to try to test it. Like, I can tell you right now, this max agility blessing right here, +1 of max, this is a divinity affix. And this is a condition group I'm familiar with. I wanted to have a tenacity or an agility blessing on one of my divinity slates. So some of it you can read and it makes sense, but the question is, how do we actually build these from scratch? What kind of source JSON data that we need to extract still, by the way. We still haven't extracted any of this kind of stuff. This is just reading from the cache still. But we need to extract the source and have it be valid. And that is yet another step in the process. This whole thing may end up taking us, I don't know, months is a crazy stretch, but I would think at least weeks. So whatever this is going to be, Trade House Helper, it may not be realistically testable until the end of the season, which is months away. And so I don't know. I'm trying to decide what it's worth it to do. What is it worth it to spend my time on? But regardless, I may actually do a video of the game itself, Torchlight Infinite, because I'm having like a pretty enjoyable time. I'm playing Thea 2, which nobody's playing. It's very off meta. I'm really enjoying it. And so I'm sort of like, life is short. May as well do something you love. And yeah, I guess that's it. I wanted to at least give a little bit of an update of where I'm at. I hope you all are doing well. Let me know if you have questions about the hero rank. if you have issues, or if you find bugs. Let me know that too. All right, that's it.